Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa min tabi wal huda. Hey everyone, greetings. Greetings from near and far. We're back again. Another episode of the Pen Files. Just trying to set the screen up. There we go. Okay. Yeah. It's been a long day, guys. It's been a long day. I mean, rough, rugged day, man. Traffic. I mean, cold. A lot of things going on. A lot of elements out there, you know, and just trying to make it through. Just trying to get through one situation to another situation. You know, a lot of stuff going on. I mean, a lot of stuff happening in society. I mean, what is one to do? What does one to do? How does one stay above water and continually survive in this place called society? You know, where stuff is chaotic. You know, stuff is, very harmful to your everyday life, your everyday lifestyle. I mean, the harms of society, the harms of your neighborhood, you know, COVID. I mean, you got to talk about him. You know what I mean? And these things are going on around the clock. I mean, people getting killed at alarming rates, carjackings at alarming rates, all types of things that happening in our society. And the question that we have to ask is, what's being done about it? What's being done about what's happening in our society? Whereas though people are, afraid to go outside because they know what's out there. I mean, people go outside and they got a fear of being carjacked. I mean, you have a group of individuals, attacking a society. We're going to use the Philadelphia society as an example. Whereas though you have these youth who are one on one side of the block, another one on the other side of the block. They watch you, come to a stop. You come to a stop, they run up to you. I mean, they pull a gun on you, pull a hammer on you, and before you know it, they want you to get out the car. Things don't go right, you might get shot. Things don't go right, you have a firearm, you might want to shoot down. I mean, things don't go right. I mean, this is what's going on. This is the norm right here in Philadelphia today, along with just regular homicides. I mean, people being killed at an alarming rate. People being killed, don't even know what they're being killed for. People being robbed, beat up. I mean, massacred right here in the streets of Philadelphia. And you always want to ask that question. You want to ask a $10,000 question. Where's law enforcement? Where is law enforcement? You say, well, president comes to town. President comes to town. Police everywhere. How many incidents? You can count them on your hand. In order for a certain society to be protected, a certain group of people to be protected, the president has to come through, or we have to be on the level of presidency in order for this to take place. So these are the questions that we want to ask. People want to ask. How is it that certain societies and certain neighborhoods, certain, groups of people are protected by law enforcement, but other groups are overlooked? Other groups are overlooked. They dial the same number, 911. 911 is supposed to be emergency. Police used to have a number where you could just call them, 267, such, 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 such. Right? If it wasn't an emergency, they just want you to come out because, it's a problem, but it ain't emergency, life-threatening. I want you to come break up a situation. I want you to come in and, talk to so-and-so about a situation. But if you call 911, that's an emergency. 911 means emergency. And we used to time them. 3 minutes was the stopwatch. In 3 minutes, you call law enforcement. 3 minutes, they'll be here. You call law enforcement. 3 minutes turn to 30 minutes. That 30 minutes might turn to an hour. Everything happened. Everything took place inside the situation. No officer shows up. And you ask the question. You ask the $10,000 question. What's going on in this place called society? But then when you move, you go 10 blocks up, 10 blocks to the right, 10 blocks to the left. No carjackings. There's no homicides. The homicide rate is not that high. People getting robbed. And they have less. The law enforcement in that locale is less than that of the Philadelphia area. They got 5 cops. They got 5 cops to run their whole organization. Right? You go back City Line Avenue. All right? You go up into, that part of the neighborhood past City Line Avenue. You cross over to City Line Avenue. You go to that part of the neighborhood. You're no longer in Philadelphia. But that part of the neighborhood, 5 cops. You see 5 cop cars. If that. But you don't see 2 black youth walking up the street. One on one side, one on the other side. Both of them got their hands in their pockets, waiting for a car to pull up. When that car pulls up, they tell them you got to get out. You don't see that. How come? Because if you see an African-American male in that neighborhood standing, because he don't live there. We know it. They know he don't live there based on his profile. He doesn't live there. He doesn't live in that neighborhood based on his profile. Huh? $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses. They say he doesn't live there. So what are they dealing with here? This is just something that we got to look at. This is something that we need to really start looking at and paying attention. Why are certain neighborhoods being policed the way that they're being policed? But when it comes to the urban neighborhoods, the policing it's an embarrassment. It's humiliation. But then when you ride past Dunkin' Donuts, you ride past 7-Eleven, they sitting in the parking lot. 2 cars, one facing one way, one facing the other way. And they sitting there busting it up. And they sitting there joking. And they sitting there laughing and giggling. But then 3 blocks down, the guy's carjacking. 10 blocks up, another carjacking. They robbing, they stealing. 2 more blocks up, they shooting over a crap game. And then they don't come until when? When the shots stop. When the shooting stops. After all the pop, pop, pop. And I always say, why sign up? I ask the guy, why you sign up if you're scared? Why you sign up if you're scared? See, this is why I like working where I work. See, where I work at, you don't get to come in there with a gun. You don't get to come in there with a knife, with a nightstick, none of that stuff. You don't get to come in with none of that. You get to come in there with who you are, your identity. You get to come in there with who you are. And if you're nobody, you're going to be exposed. If you're no one, you're going to be exposed. Be laughed at. Clown. That's the status you're going to get. Clown status. You understand what I'm saying? Environment. Society. Where do you live? This is it. This is it. My brothers and sisters, this is it. So today, we on chapter 16, and we're going to look into a little bit of 17. So what did I just cover? What did I just cover in that little small 8-9 minute talk? I covered two points. I covered two angles. Okay? I covered leadership. Because a society only is out of control based on the people that run it. Society don't run itself. Society is run by people of leadership. Administrative body. A governor, a mayor, administrative body. All up under the what? The umbrella of presidency. So our governor, he has the whole state. Our mayor, he has the city. The mayor, he does what? Guy who we never see. We never see this guy. You understand what I'm saying? We never see this guy. What's his name? You ask the guy, what's the mayor's name? What's the mayor of Philadelphia? They do 3 names. Mayor Good nigga. Mayor Street nigga. Mayor Nutter, nut nigga. That's all we remember. Now we got a guy named Kenny. Who's that? I mean, when does he show up? When do we see him? Has he ever given a talk? Has he ever, talked to society? When the shootings going on? When the situation? We don't hear from this guy. But he was elected, meaning the people came out and voted for this guy, and he was elected. You don't demand accountability. If you're going to stand up, if you're going to vote for an individual to run your society, then you have to demand accountability. And if you're not demanding accountability, then you're like a liability. You're like in the way. You're like a speed bump. You're in the way. Why do you keep putting these guys in office that don't do nothing for your community? Make these guys work for what? For their pay. This is the society that you're supposed to live in, because those people on the other side of City Line Avenue, they sleeping well. With five cars, 5 patrol cars patrolling the whole area from this block to that block. They got 5 cop cars. Crime is down very, very low. And if you commit a crime in there, you're going to be sentenced, prosecuted, and sentenced in a way unlike the way that you're going to be prosecuted and sentenced if you was living inside of an urban society. Meaning that the crimes that are committed in a suburban neighborhood, the punishment is escalated. The punishments go to another level. What else did we talk about? These youth, these teenagers. These These youth, these teenagers are what? Their children targeted for incarceration. Targeted. Targeted for incarceration. How do you know? These 13-year-olds, these 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, these 16-year-olds, they all have firearms. What's the rule for getting a firearm? You have to be what age to obtain a firearm? Legally. So where are they getting these firearms from? In the African American community, name one African American gun owner, a store, an establishment that sells guns, owned and operated by an African American, a place that makes and specializes in the hardware of guns. Name it. Name a place right here in Philadelphia. Because there are shootings every day, multiple shootings every day, carjackings every day, some being reported, some not being reported. Where are they getting these firearms from? Where are they getting these firearms from? Where are they getting these tools to practice these bad habits with? Where are they getting them from? These are the questions that have to be asked. These are the questions that have to be asked. It goes back to leadership. Who's in charge? Who are the people that's in charge of this place called society? So when we talk about society, we're talking about the whole society. We're not talking about a part of it. We're talking about equality. We shouldn't be talking about inequalities. It shouldn't exist, but it does. So when we talk about suburbia, the lifestyle, the environment, the conditions should be the same in the urban. The urban neighborhoods should be equal to the suburban neighborhoods, and we know why they don't. Because strategically, a plan was put in place way back in which lines were put around certain societies, lines, red lines, to mark off the section, the target population for destruction of where to live and where not to live. A red line. Go to North Philly, there's a red line around it. You go to South Philly, there's a red line around it. Go to West Philly, there's a red line around it. It's an invisible red line to those who don't know what they're looking at. Red lining. Red lining. It keeps the lowest of the low placed inside of an environment which they're prevented from leaving. And if they attempt or try to leave, then they have this other thing called block busting. Block busting. What is block busting? It's when a Black person, an African American, moves into a suburban neighborhood. He just busted up the whole block. Why did he bust up the block? Because when he moved in, he just made the property tax decrease. The value of this individual made the value of this society, this suburban society, just went down. So now what happens? All the other counterparts do what? They pack their things and they do what? They leave. They pack their things and they leave. Why? Because now the block is busted up. Because what happens? The banks that govern this part of society, suburbia, They take the interest rates and they throw them through the roof to try to make it totally impossible for a black individual to enter into these neighborhoods. However, some of them, they just have the money and they what? They're able to get into these neighborhoods. So if they're able to get into these neighborhoods, what? That strategy didn't work. They got past enemy lines. So now, instead of them saying, hey, let's think about this, only one got in. Okay? One. Our lifestyle, our way of life, he's going to conform to it because he's going to see everybody else's house is nice. Everybody else is doing this is nice. He's going to fall in line. No, what they say is he's going to come in. He's going to bring his friends. He's going to bring this. He's going to bring that. Barbecues on the block parties, all that. He just going to create havoc on the block. Everybody gets up and they leave. Now what happens? The property value of that house, the property value of that neighborhood, it decreases. So if the property value of that house, the property value of that neighborhood decreases, what happens to? Here we go. We great go there, guys. We great go there. What happens to the educational program, the school system? Because the school system is what? They're fed by the property taxes of the housing. One of the contributors for the funding of schools is property tax. One of the fundings, one of the forms of funding for schools is property tax. How many of y'all didn't know that? Okay. The property tax funds the schools, which gives them what? What kind of a curriculum is being put inside the schools? What kind of money is being put inside the schools? What kind of housing is around that neighborhood? What kind of neighborhood are we in? So when you go to a Ivy League school, ask them what school they went to, public school. Ask them what school they went to, for elementary. What school they went to for junior high. What school they went to for high school. I guarantee you, the majority. We ain't talking about the minority, those that slip through the cracks. We're talking about the majority. The majority of them lived in neighborhoods where the property tax was very, very high. The property tax was very, very high. People living in houses that cost $300,000 and $400,000 and $500,000. $300,000 and $400,000 and $500,000. But these people here in the urban society, in the urban neighborhoods, we find that these individuals here are renting their houses. The majority of the houses are rented. They're rental houses. They pay the landlord. Property tax is very, very low. So that you find that in these urban neighborhoods, the curriculum for the school is below average. So when it comes to standardizing tests, these tests that are standardized, SATs and the likes, the educational curriculum will not prepare them to take an SAT to receive a grade the likes of 1,700. 2,100 is the top to go. But are these schools producing? Are these public schools producing individuals that can receive anything from 15, 16, 1,700 on an SAT? Of course not. But then you have these schools here, when the children sit down and take the SAT, and they get up with what? With pride and honor. They get up with what? I know what I just did. They're getting these 17s. They're getting these 18s, 1800s, 1900s. So when they want to know, when the college and the university want to know what they get on the SAT, that's who we want in our school. How you gonna get in? How you gonna get in there with a 1200? How you gonna get in the University of Penn with a 1200 on the SAT? 1300. How you gonna get in? If your foundation, your core is low, the income in your neighborhood is low, your futuristic goals low, crabs in a basket mentality. No one's getting to the top. No one's getting to the top except for who? A couple. But he has to be able to shoot a basketball. That's the only skill that we have? Is that the only skill and mindset that the African American male has? Basketball? How many sports are there? How many sports can an individual play? And why is basketball the only one, or football the only one, that is targeted toward the African American community? You see the Olympics. You see who's doing what. How many individuals, how many other races have won the 50-yard dash other than the African American male? What other race has won the 50-yard dash other than the African American male? The basketball championships, who's winning them? The football championship, who's winning them? You know, come on, this ain't nothing. It's not a trick question. All of this is strategic. All of this is strategic. And it goes back to two foundations. Chapter what? Chapter 16, leadership. Leadership. You got to look at leadership. Leadership is about, this is what leadership promotes. This is what leadership pumps. This is what leadership puts into the neighborhoods. This is what leadership does. When the leadership practices stratification, this is the result. When there is an unequal distribution of goods and services in your community, where's this coming from? Donald Duck, Goofy, Mickey Mouse, where's this coming from? Who's behind this? Who's spearheading this? Donald Duck, Goofy, who? People of leadership. And when you see that a large population of these neighborhoods have an address inside of a correctional facility, then you're going to be able to see chapter 17. Children targeted for incarceration. From the school line, from the schoolyard to the prison yard. The schoolyard to the prison yard. The schoolyard to the prison yard. Huh? A kid. Huh? He says something back to the teacher. Teacher suspends him. The goal of the suspension is to send the kid home. To send the kid home and have the kid home without any type of supervision. Because if the kid has no supervision, he might tend to wander outside. If he wanders outside, he's going to what? Run into law enforcement. Now law enforcement is they out. Now law enforcement is out and they working. And once they get this kid into the system, the name of the game is to get him into the system. Huh? You lock him up. You throw an array of charges at him, right? 10 charges. Huh? They throw out 8, they keep 2. Long as they got 2 charges out of the deal instead of the 8, huh? Make the kid feel good. Kids encourage, yeah, I got away with it. They just played you. You just got played. Now you got a conviction that's going to stick with you probably for the rest of your life. Now you're starting a career of inside the criminal justice system. Now you have a felony. Now you have a misdemeanor. Now you have a felony offense on your jacket that's going to follow you for the rest of your life. Okay? So the next time you're pulled over, the next time the officers have a contact with you and they run your name, you're already in the system. They know what they're going to do from here. They're going to follow the protocol. Send him in, give him 10 more charges, find him guilty of 2, until what? He reaches the level of career criminal. He reaches the level of 3 strikes and you out. He reaches the level of an aggressive violent offender. He reaches the level of, they have a list of things setting up this kid for what? Incarceration. You guys gonna keep missing it? You guys gonna keep missing it? Or you gonna wake up and smell a coffee? It's that real talk here, man. And I ain't even going into my stats. I ain't even going to my books. I ain't even utilizing all my points of discussion from the scholastic point of view. I'm just giving it to you raw, uncut. You can't find this stuff on TV, man. This is from pen to pen. This is the Pen Files. My name is Abdul Hakeem Muhammad, the president of the Pen Files, bringing you another week of from pen to pen. Keep telling y'all, man, buy the book, man. Support the cause. I can be found on Amazon. I can be found on Barnes and Nobles. The name of the book, From Pen to Pen. You can get the ebook format, where so you can just get it online. I mean, the Kindle. I mean, $10 is a very inexpensive book. I mean, give them out. Give them out as gifts. Give one to each and every youth that you know. Give one to each and every youth that you know. Give them this book. Great gift. All right? Till next week. I'm going to holler, guys. Assalamu alaikum. Wa barakatuh. Kula qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah wa li wa lakum. Wa nas'alullah ta'ala wa tawfiq. Till next week, guys. Enjoy.